What a bizarre question. Well, first up tonight, we are honored. We have Arizona Republican Senator John McCain to help us out with this. Senator McCain, great to see you, sir.
Great to see you, Larry, and I'd love to help you out. This is certainly bizarre.
I know.
And by the way, thanks for having Carly Fiorina on. She's going to be a great United States Senator.
All right, we're going to have some fun with Carly Fiorina in just a couple of minutes, sir. But I want to ask you about this bizarre BP story. The markets are reading into it a BP bankruptcy. Now, let me ask you this first and foremost. If BP were to go into bankruptcy, can you imagine any circumstances where taxpayers would be asked to bail them out?
I think it would be a very cold day in Gila Bend, Arizona. But Larry, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard something like didn't they have profits of some $5 billion last year or something like that?
Well, I'm sure you're right. Yes, I think that's about the number. They may be $35 billion in the hole in terms of cleanup costs and legal liabilities, but no one really knows the answer. But let me ask you this. Some people are blaming this on politicians in Washington and the White House, and this is a serious issue. Apparently, Interior Secretary Ken Salazar is saying that not only does BP have to pay the cost of the cleanup, which certainly is fair enough, but they should also repay the salaries of any workers laid off because of the 6-month moratorium of the deepwater exploratory drilling. That moratorium imposed by the government, I guess it's going to be 6 months. Now, on top of everything else, should BP pay for that, in your judgment?
I think so. I also think that there's going to have to be compensation for the fishing industry, as you know, which has been basically put out of business. And, when you fail to have the supplies that come from the Gulf fishing, oysters, etc., that's also going to have a ripple effect. An inflationary one is only one of the many aspects of it. So, yeah, I think that they should be charged for it, Larry.
Now, you're going to hear a lot of whining from Wall Street, Senator McCain, and it won't be the first time you've listened to Wall Street whining. People are going to say that BP is bringing the whole stock market down, and they're going to say that we should do something about it, and they're going to say that maybe we should give BP some help. So I want to ask you once again, you've had time to consider these opening questions from me. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Can you imagine any circumstances under which BP gets help from Uncle Sam?
I cannot, Larry. I just think it would be, if it required congressional approval, I could not imagine something getting through the Congress. And look, I feel bad about the effects on Wall Street, but I feel a lot worse about the effect on all of the people in the tourist industry, all the people that had planned to have their once-a-year vacation, all the people who make a living for generations off the Gulf and the abundant sea life that's there. I have sympathy for everybody, but the fact is that BP is responsible, and if I wouldn't like to see them go under, but the fact is that they must bear responsibility for this.
This is a bit distant, but what if other drillers went down? What if Transocean went down, just to put them on the screen? Would you change your mind about government assistance?
Well, I simply can't. Look, I think that when we bailed out AIG, it was a huge mistake. So, and I said so at the time. So I'm not for bailing these people out. I always thought that the TARP, in fact, I was told, as you were, that the TARP would take care of the housing crisis. Instead, they turned around and gave the money to the major financial institutions in Wall Street that have very little to do with home ownership. And meanwhile, in my home state of Arizona, about half or less than half of the homes are still underwater. So I don't look, bailouts, I'm sorry but I just can't support them, and certainly I wouldn't make them part of another stimulus package.
Well, there's going to be more stimulus packages. And now let me ask you one more before we finish this on politics. Ben Bernanke was testifying on the Hill today, the House Budget Committee, and he tells the congresspeople, he says, look, it's too soon to cut spending. Now, Bernanke already said the economy, in his opinion, is growing at 3.5%. And he says, but we mustn't cut spending right now because that would hurt recovery. It's okay to cut spending later, but not right now. Senator McCain, is there ever a good time to cut spending in Washington, D.C.?
Well, you know, a couple of numbers. The size of government has doubled since 1999. It took us 206 years to accumulate a $1 trillion deficit. Now we're going to have a $13 to $16 trillion deficit in just 3 or 4 years. Look, if we don't cut spending, we're going to destroy this economy. And stop the growth of government. You got to cut spending, stop the growth of government, and unless you do that, I am not optimistic about the long-term future, because, as you have often talked about, crowding out in the private markets when the government has to borrow so much, and of course the inflationary aspects of debasing the currency in order to get at this debt. Neither one are acceptable options I think, to most Americans.
All right, let me move on to yesterday's election primaries. In particular, in the state of California, 2 alumni from your presidential campaign, Meg Whitman and Carly Fiorina, had huge victories. Whitman's going to square off against Governor Moonbeam, Jerry Brown, and Carly Fiorina's going to square off against Barbara Boxer, who was a longtime colleague of yours. I believe we have a surprise for you coming up in just a moment if I play my cards right. Oh, look who's here. There is Carly Fiorina. Now, let me be sure, in case you two don't know each other. Carly Fiorina, I want to introduce you to Senator John McCain. Senator John McCain, I want to introduce you to soon-to-be Senator Carly Fiorina.
Well, hi, Carly, and I'm proud of you, and I left phone messages for you. Could I say, Larry, that I'm the loser, so I'm the last one to give advice, but I know that one of the aspects of Carly's campaign is going to be is that she can be effective in Washington for the people of Arizona in these tough times. Barbara Boxer has not shown to be an effective member of the Senate.
If you would give Ms. Fiorina one...
Oh, Larry, can I just say one thing real quick back to the great senator?
Yes.
John, you have never been a loser. All of America is proud of you, and I so appreciate you giving me the chance to ride on the Straight Talk Express, and believe it or not, I've gotten asked a few times today about singing that TOLEDO song.
You see that, Senator McCain? She's not only tough.
Don't do it, Carly.
She's not only tough, she's not only smart, she's not only Margaret Thatcher-like, she's gracious on top of all those other things. Such a thing is possible in politics. John McCain, let me just ask you, concluding, if you could give one piece of advice to Carly Fiorina in her campaign against Barbara Boxer, what might that piece of advice be?
Straight talk, and the fact is these are most difficult times for the people of California and this country, and she has solutions, and she can go to Washington and reconnect the people of California with their representatives in Washington. All
right, straight talk for Carly Fiorina. Thank you, Senator McCain.
God bless you, John. Thank you.
We appreciate your time very, very much, as always.